Okay, so you've seen them everywhere, essential oils, promising a little bit of calm in a bottle. But with all the hype, is there any real science behind using aromatherapy for anxiety? Well, today we're going to dive in and see what a major scientific review actually says. And first off, let's be clear, this isn't some niche little topic. Recent data shows that the prevalence of anxiety disorders has skyrocketed by over 25%. That is a huge jump, and it means more people than ever are out there looking for something, anything that can help. And that search is leading a lot of people to all sorts of remedies, right? Aromatherapy is one of the most popular, but the big question is still hanging out there. Does it really work, or is it just a nice smell? And it turns out we are not the only ones asking. The scientific community's interest in this has pretty much exploded right alongside those rising anxiety levels. I mean, you can just see that clear upward trend in the research being published, especially over the last decade. So to get the absolute clearest picture, we're not just going to look at one single study. Nope, we are looking at a massive review that pulls together the results from dozens of them. The way this is done is using a method called a meta-analysis. It sounds kind of fancy, but it's one of the most powerful tools in a researcher's toolkit. It basically gathers up all the existing evidence to find the overall pattern. It's like taking a bird's eye view of the entire field. And this particular study of studies was huge. It covered 44 different trials with over 3,400 people. And the top-line result? A clear yes. Essential oils had a significant positive effect. They helped reduce both state anxiety, that's, the anxiety you feel in a stressful moment, and trait anxiety, which is more of that underlying personality-based anxiousness. And this is really cool. The effects weren't just in people's heads. The researchers actually found measurable physical changes. Inhaling essential oils led to a significant drop in systolic blood pressure and in heart rate, two key physical signs of stress. So we're talking about both the mind and the body responding here. Okay, so we know they seem to work in general, but here's the question everybody really wants to know. Which ones work best? Let's take a look at how the researchers figured that out. Now, this is where things get really clever. See, since all these different oils were tested in totally separate studies, you can't just compare them directly, head to head. To solve that little puzzle, scientists use this technique called a network meta-analysis. Probably the easiest way to wrap your head around it is with a sports analogy. It's kind of like trying to rank the best quarterbacks of all time, right? They never played in the exact same game, but you can analyze how they performed against common opponents to get a pretty good statistical idea of who is better. That's exactly what this analysis does with the studies. It's a really powerful tool that lets us finally get a ranking. So, after all that, let's see the results. All right, for that in-the-moment situational stress, what scientists call state anxiety, the big winner was jasmine. It had the most powerful effect for calming people down right then and there. Close behind were bitter orange and damask rose. But what about that deeper, more long-term personality-based anxiety? Well, here the rankings actually change. Bitter orange jumps up to the #1 spot as the most effective. Then you've got lemon and, of course, the ever-popular lavender. But did you catch that? Bitter orange, it made the top 3 on both lists. And that consistent performance across the board points us toward, well, an overall winner, the single most promising scent according to this massive pile of evidence. And it kind of makes sense that some oils perform well in different situations when you see how broadly they're studied. Take damask rose, one of our top performers. It's linked to a whole web of things, like stress, sleep, even pain. This complexity is exactly why finding an all-around winner is such a big deal. So while jasmine was an absolute superstar for that immediate stress, the researchers were really looking for the best all-around player, the one oil that could tackle both the sudden flare-ups and those underlying feelings of anxiety. And that oil, the one that the study ultimately recommends as the most effective overall, is bitter orange. Its scientific name is Citrus aurantium, and its ability to significantly reduce both types of anxiety really made it the clear standout. But, and this is super important, like all good science, this comes with some major caveats. We have to be really clear about the limitations of the research as it stands right now. In fact, the authors of the study themselves say it best.
They pretty much put a big warning label on their own findings, saying that because the studies they looked at were all so different from each other, the results have to be interpreted with caution. This is not the final word.
So what does interpret with caution really mean? Well, a couple things. First, a lot of the trials they included had what's called a high risk of bias, meaning their methods just weren't perfect. Second, there was no standard for how the oils were used, the dose, how long they were used. It was all over the place. Basically, the trend is promising, but we need more high-quality, standardized research to be really sure. Okay, so after looking at all that, what's the bottom line? What should you really take away from all of this? I think it's this. The best science we have right now suggests that essential oils, especially scents like bitter orange, can be a genuinely helpful tool for taking the edge off of anxiety. But they are not a magic cure-all. They're just one potential piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. Based on all this evidence, the answer's a pretty promising maybe. Yeah, more research is definitely needed, but this huge review suggests that the path to a calmer state of mind might just be a scent away. Could a simple citrus smell be a new secret weapon in your toolkit for finding calm? Well, the science seems to suggest it's definitely worth exploring.